Hey everyone, it's Sarah, the elder millennial.
And this is Bill, the infant boomer. Welcome to Strengths on Fire, the podcast for strengths enthusiasts who want to have fun while leveling up.
Get ready for a mix of powerful insights, unexpected stories, and plenty of laughs along the way. Hey Bill, you want to light these strengths on fire?
Sarah, let's light it up! Well, hey Sarah.
Welcome back, Mr. Dippel. How are you doing today?
I know we talked previously how great Reno is in fall. It is amazing. I can't. It's just I need you to come visit. It is unbelievable.
I want to. I love visiting. I have a question for you.
Hit me.
Are you a football fan?
I'm a baseball fan.
Oh, that's so weird.
I know. Don't call me weird. I'm not weird. No,
it's good to be weird.
I actually I embrace my weirdness a little bit. So I do like football. I definitely get into it during playoffs.
Are we talking college, professional, like set the
I know you so well to know that you're a college football girl, right? I know this about you.
Fooled. I'm also a Swiftie, so you know those Chiefs.
Well,
and I can wear red for both of those. I just wanted to point out. I just wanted to talk about myself and say I'm here to support my Huskers and my Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, you're a Chiefs fan
today.
Wow. Look, again, one of our two listeners just turned off. You're a Chiefs fan. They're out. They don't want to do it. So I'm a 49ers fan, right? Pro side. And I'm a Niners fan because my grandfather was a 49ers fan. So I had to follow that. He was also a San Francisco Giants fan. So I'm a baseball Giants fan. And he did not care about basketball. So
well, who does?
Got it. But when I moved to Los Angeles, so went from Reno out of high school to move to LA, I started following the Lakers because I thought, well, this seems like a fun team. And I was there during, Magic Johnson and all. And so I went to the Fabulous Forum a couple times, got to see it. So of the big three, I like them all, but my favorite is baseball. My absolute favorite is baseball. And
I used to really like baseball players, so I'm with you there.
Is your husband aware of this?
No, I mean, I didn't act on it. I was just like, oh, this is a very flattering outfit.
That is a good outfit. And and by the way, I'm going to take a stab that our guest today is a huge baseball fan too, but I'm just stabbing at it. I don't know.
Like you know nothing about our guest.
I don't know anything, but I'm just
like you're definitely not recording under the same roof.
No, when he or she gets on the podcast today, I'm sure baseball I don't know. We'll see. But if I was going to throw a dart at it, baseball would be it. And I'm not a great baseball fan either, only in that I'll watch now during the post. Like I watched one of the games last night. It wasn't my Giants because I think the Giants were mathematically eliminated 2 days after spring training. Right? I really
have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, they just had all the baseball fans just laughed, at least a chuckle, I promise you, because we were so bad all year. It just wasn't great. So I'll watch during the playoffs. I like good baseball. I like good football. I have to watch the Niners. My father and I get on a phone call every Wednesday morning.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
I was strengths coaching somebody, and she wants to be a coach of understanding elderly people.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And she was like, now that you've coached me on working through and getting to where I want to go, can I give you a piece of advice? I've mentioned your dad twice, and you kind of went, and I'm like, yeah, he always calls at weird times. And, and she goes, can I give you a piece of advice to fix that? I said, please go. And she said, set a time with your dad, like every Tuesday at 10 a.m. for 5 minutes.
Right.
That way, the length of the call, you're checking in. It'll mean the world to him. And it means you can control when it happens and what, you can work around it. And I got her up. We walked out to my car. We sat in my car together, and I called my dad while she was sitting in the car. So it was on Bluetooth, and she could hear me say, Dad, every Wednesday, 9 a.m., you want a phone call from me so that we check in and you could just hear my dad just, Oh, that would
Oh,
Billy, right? Billy. That would be so great, And I was like, nope, Dad, no problem. So now
making dreams come true.
9 a.m. And I did that with her in the car intentionally. I wanted her to hear that what you're doing makes a difference for not only the people but not only me, but for the people that you're helping in the other way.
Receiving end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, that is just delightful. I love that for you.
I have a question for you. So you mentioned Taylor Swift like a couple minutes ago. And by the way, have we had a podcast yet where Tay-Tay didn't get mentioned in some way, shape, or form?
I feel like maybe the last one she did it, unfortunately.
No, we dropped the ball there. So here's what I'm suggesting. We are going to keep Tay-Tay mentioned in some way until she agrees to record our intro.
Oh my God. So forever, because if she's going to be on a podcast, it's going to be on New Heights.
Right.
Okay?
Sure.
Travis and Jason's podcast, which is excellent.
Yeah.
They're just, oh man. And can we also talk about, I don't know if you know anything about this, but whatever Donna Kelsey and her husband, I don't even know her husband's name, did with Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey, I would like them to write a book or do a documentary series, because these are some of the most masculine men you'll ever see. And they cry and they love to give shout outs to their women. They're so uplifting and supportive and emotional. And yet they go out on the football field and kill it in the most masculine way. And if I can raise my son to be like that, I will feel like I have succeeded in this world. What does that take? I mean, it is the most amazing thing to see. Get you a man who can do both.
How to raise
did it.
How to raise a sensitive oak tree, right? I like it. I love it. And your boys, how old?
6.
Oh, you got time. You got time to infuse it in them.
I mean, my boy is sensitive. If I just said on the last podcast, I don't like to guess people's strengths because I feel like the outcome in the world, you never know where it's coming from. And he's 6, so, we haven't given him the assessment yet. He can't read. I mean, he can, but not to the level of an assessment. But he has to have empathy. He is so in touch and in tune with other people's emotions. It is insane, almost to a detriment, right? I see the raw side of it so much, but he has a lot of my genes. Like my dad is like 6'3", just a big guy. And my son, he's just looking like that big old oak tree, and he's starting to like football. And so I feel like he has the potential to be this person in the world. And I just keep thinking, I gotta shape it, right? I gotta build up this man to be, so I can be so proud of him, to be like, look at my own little Travis Kelsey.
Start the molding now, right? Let it begin. So,
that's right.
Well, we got on them, but I'm telling you, if we stick with this, I know she needs our added listeners to the Swiftie clan. We will.
So delusional. I can't even joke about it.
Try so hard to get her to do our intro. I'm just all in. I am not giving up this dream.
I love that dream for you. I just can't have it because it's so delusional. Like, I will settle for a mediocre regional celebrity, okay? Like, give me a local weatherman who's got some clout behind him. I'll take that.
Give me a D-lister. You're okay? You're in?
Yeah, that's totally fine. We'll find someone who's on, like, Vanderpump Rules or something. Like, whatever. That will work for me,
You know what? Any listener listening to this, you just heard our intro 5 minutes ago. Let me look. I'm sorry, 8 minutes, 50 seconds ago. You just heard our intro. Write down who should be doing our intros for us.
Yeah, leave that in the comments for us. Who do we need to tap to do those intros?
Yes, give me a D, C, B lister. I'll even go with an A lister. Throw one in.
Yeah, I mean, I would love it. It would be great, but I'm a realist. This is the thing people confuse about positivity. I have positivity, but I'm not blindly optimistic, okay?
Oh my God.
There's no chance in the world that Taylor Swift will ever come on this podcast. I just wish I could get a ticket to the Eras tour with I
We,
can't even get a ticket to her show where hundreds of thousands of people have been able to go,
I think
let alone get her on this podcast.
we just got to get 100,000 Swifties to ask if we can.
It
If we
won't
can
work.
mobilize, I know. All right, I'm doing all I can, so that's good.
Let's talk to our guest. Who
let's talk
probably
to-
knows how delusional
You know what?
truly
If
are.
somebody can get Taylor on, so we get to work with so many great people, so many great strengths-based, aware strengths enthusiasts, as we call them, and we're also talking to several coaches today. Super special day for me, right? Only in that I've mentioned her several times on this podcast. The fact that I co-coach professionally with my wife it might be relevant to this discussion. I would like to introduce Renea Dippel to the podcast today. Hello, Renee.
I just felt like that, needed a shout
Thank
and
you.
an applause.
Oh
Renee,
my
welcome. I'm
gosh.
so excited to have you here. One of my favorite things to do is just bust up Bill a little bit. So I'm hoping that you'll join me.
I would
I'm-
strongly encourage that.
Yeah. So I know my role here is to do the introduction, and then I'm just going to slide the mic away because I'm just going to become a wallflower listening to the roast. I'm ready for the roast today. So,
Well, Bill, this podcast isn't about you. Okay. So if you could take your ego with you to the side of
Wow.
the room, Renee and I
Wow.
are going to be talking about her today and highlighting her excellence and how she has been supporting Bill Dippel, Strengths Coach.
yeah, and so the
all of
roast
the wonderful
the
ways.
roast has begun. There it is. It's just started. I love it. So Renee, thank you so much for joining us today. I know we've asked a lot of your time, so we appreciate you coming in. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and it's absolutely my pleasure to be here. And I'm excited to talk about how strengths works into my life. And to just give you a little sneak peek, I've been sitting here in observation mode from my strategic thinking perch, watching
Bill and
all
I look
this
petrified. We're like,
all
oh
this
no.
relationship building stuff going on. It's magnificent, and I'm so glad to just be observing it. But let's circle back to Taylor Swift.
Oh, let's.
Okay, come on in, hot
Yeah,
man.
well,
Get in here.
You want bumper music? You want to know about her boyfriend? No. I want to see her assessment. I want to see how this woman has been so brilliantly successful, destabilizing the music industry, changing the rules, taking care of artists. I want to know how she's doing it, what strength she's leaning into. That's where my mind goes because she is absolutely brilliant. Love her or hate her, you've got to admire the businesswoman she is and continues to be. She is changing the industry.
Wow.
Ooh, I love that. That's on fire. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Can you tell Sarah I'm attracted to strong women? Look at that. She jumps right in and she's just like, let me tell you what I want. Right. So, I couldn't agree more about Taylor and how she is changing what she does. We actually watched the Taylor Swift documentary not long ago, the co-documentary between her and Scooter Braun, where they had shown both sides of the argument about what they've done.
That was not Taylor Swift endorsed. I want you to know.
Oh, I'm sure. But actually, I mean, it was pretty interesting to show both sides. I don't know that I would call
Pretty
it.
sure it was one-sided.
Oh, okay. Well, I would just
I mean,
say
I
it
didn't
was-
watch it because I'm a Taylor Swift stan, and I will not be a part of that propaganda. But tell me more.
Well, I was.
May I?
Yeah,
Yes, please, Renee.
You go, Renee. Hit it.
Okay, my input number 2 means I like to gather information, all the information. And what I really like is Taylor Swift is so solid in her convictions. She doesn't need to defend herself. She just gets to be who she is. And no matter what mud is slung at her repeatedly, how she is attacked and taken down and just brutally treated, she is just who she is. And it hasn't hardened her heart, her soul, her mission, the impact she's having on females in our society to stand up, speak your truth. Don't follow someone else's rules, make your own. I admire her. And it doesn't matter what anyone says about her. She knows her truth. And she has such a shining, guiding light that we can, if you're looking for it, You can see it. If you only want to look for a shadow, you'll find it.
Ugh, that is so well said. Okay, Renee, I have to drop your top 10 in here because, of course,
Okay.
this is, a strengths-based podcast, and the listeners heard you give a little tease, so let's do it. We've got learner, input maximizer, responsibility activator, futuristic, relator, developer, focus, and discipline.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I love hearing the way you just articulated all of these thoughts about Taylor Swift in such a concise, focused way. And you can just hear those strengths play out in that.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from her just observing how she stands in her own truth and dignity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've gathered information, and I've got to say, I'm not a huge fan of her music. I am a fan of her business savvy
Mm-hmm.
and her womanhood.
Yeah.
And she
It
Yeah.
is
doesn't have to
inspiring.
take other women down to be who she truly is. So it's
Right.
very empowering.
It is. I tell you, I have twins that are 5, they're girls, and they love Taylor Swift. And I
Hmm.
am so proud that they love her. And, sometimes the music, I love it, but then when I hear my daughters, we've made this new rule that they can say cuss words if it's in a song because Taylor's got some bombs that she drops, and I'm like, what's my rule on this, right? I'm at the beginning stages of parenting, so I have to make okay, I have to decide what's our rule. So I'm like, okay, no cussing unless it's in a song, and then don't sing that song at school, okay? Because the teachers are not going to probably understand like mom does. But
Right.
beyond them liking her music, I just think she is such a powerful role model for a young girl to see. The
Hmm.
way that even at a young age, she started writing lyrics, coming up with these songs, because I think that is her superpower in many ways. It's the taking what she feels and experiences and writing it in this poetic way. And then she does so much other stuff with it, but it's just
Yeah.
incredible the way she sees the world and is able to communicate that in such a unique way and in such a feminine way in a lot of ways
Hmm.
because she's really expressing her emotions and her feelings and saying, okay, this thing wasn't forever, but in these 5 minutes
Right.
I felt this way, and so I just let it roll, and now it's off my chest and I'm done with it. And I just think it's a really healthy way for people to be able to be like, yeah, in this moment, this is what was going on.
Yeah.
Take it, process it, write about it, get it out in the world as that art, and let it go.
Nice.
Hmm. Well, and
Nice.
also you said that feminine power, and she doesn't fight. She's not going to buck the system. She found a workaround. You think you
Mm-hmm.
can own my music, my words? I'll just re-record them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and honestly, Sarah, I know you haven't seen it, but it didn't change. I mean, I thought it was fairly pro Taylor in my mind when I watched both. I know they're trying to show both sides, but didn't change anything about where I thought, Taylor, you own it. You should own it. There's no reason I was just like, well, you didn't do anything to bolster the other case. So, I mean, I know you tried, but so
Well,
I'm a fan. So,
and the only one who could ever take Taylor Swift down would be her. And she
Mm-hmm.
has proven for 16, 18 years, she is her own best advocate by living her truth.
Yeah.
So people can try, it just won't work.
yeah. Well, Renee, let's talk about your truth for a minute. So, one of the questions we love to start out with right at the top, now that we've got through the Taylor Swift segment of the show, is that tell us how you got here. Tell us your story, like your whatever you want to talk about regarding your employment history. How did you end up being a coach? That's what we're curious about.
Gosh, that's a big question. I'll
Mm,
talk about my origin story to strengths and then
Okay.
circle it back around to my origin as a coach. My origin story with strengths is I became an accidental recruiter, leader, and builder of a multi-level marketing company. Okay, I had
Mm-hmm.
350 people on my team. I made it all the way to the top 2%. Fortunately,
Wow.
it was with an ethical company, but I was never trying to do that. I didn't want to lead people. And for me, it was really hard. I find that people are messy, relationships are hard. And we talked about my top 10 strengths: learner input, maximizer responsibility, activator. Okay, then I have futuristic. So my first top 6 have nothing to do with people. No, actually they do, but I had to go all the way to 7 to bring in my relator and then my developer. And then I go right back into executing, which is we've got relator, developer, and then my executing. Focus, discipline. Number 11 is consistency. So I've got a triplet there. Okay. I've got my strategic thinking input learner up top. And then I've got my heavy executing. Remember that responsibility too. So I like to think about doing things. I like to do them, and then I like to think about how to do them better. So in this company, I was struggling with people. I couldn't gain buy-in because my responsibility wouldn't allow me to misrepresent how easy it is to build a team and how much money you make. No, it was a side gig, and it was wildly successful for me because I could build trust. People actually believed me, and I did it. I presented it in a value proposition for them. But I topped out where I could go because I couldn't convince anyone they should basically be my volunteer sales force and elevate me. So part of this personal development, because I thought I was failing. Why can't I lead a team? Why can't people actually do what they say they're going to do? Why can't they? Why are we different? How am I not communicating? I was turning it all inward on me. How was I failing? How I'm not motivating them. I've just got to try harder, do harder. Okay, you know the MLM. You just don't want it bad enough. And so part of
Just
that,
send more messages out on Facebook to 27,000 people that you met in high school.
How about cash in all your relational equity and end up bankrupting the relationship? Okay, no, that didn't work for me. I had a client base, and it was through just relational, do you think this might help? Here, maybe you could use this. I don't know. What do you think? Really coming from that position of serving and adding value. So I took the assessment, and because I thought anything that will help me be more successful so I could stop failing. I felt like I was failing because I've always been a 4.0 student. Testing is easy.
Right.
It's just, I've had all the labels of geek, nerd, brainiac, teacher's pet, suck up. I'm too serious. I'm too anal. I'm too blunt. I'm too direct. I have too much information. Can you just tone it down a bit? These were all the things that I lived with for a long time, all the way back, all of my school years, in my family. Who was I trying to be? Trying to impress people? It's like, no, I just love information. So when I took my assessment, and learner input came up number 1, that I realized I lead with strategic thinking, and it's a wonderful thing. It's like,
Right.
oh, the angels were singing. Sarah, for the first time in my life, I actually could I'm not getting teary. I could actually get off of my own back.
Oh,
And what I had been criticized for so many years, it's like, that's actually a strength. That's something that's right with me. I'm not wrong. And then also to then understand in my domain lineup, it was heavy strategic thinking, heavy executing, pretty good influencing, 2 in my top 5. But then my relationship building on the intensity bar was really small. It's like, I now understand.
right.
I now understand why it may not be as automatic, as natural, and I'm not doing anything wrong. So I learned how to modify my responsibility and stop weaponizing it against myself. I learned how to apply my understanding of relator into the equation. I started to understand the process of developing systems, processes, relationships with people, not only for their success, but mine and for all of us. I have a win-win-win scenario. I win, you win, everyone wins. So when I got really clear with what was right with me, man, it dispelled so many of the lies I had been told by family, by friends and enemies or frenemies, by the school system, by employers, by the educational system, higher ed. And it's like, you know what? What is the truth? What's right with me is the
Mm.
truth. And can I just lean into that? And another thing, both y'all have woo. Woo-hoo-hoo!
Woo!
Nothing made me more happy than realizing woo was number 34 for me.
Yeah.
And it gave me permission to never, ever, ever, ever again try to woo it up or woo people over. And for those who don't know, it's winning others over. Sarah, Bill,
Mm-hmm.
and I have been together for 23 years. Matter of fact, it was at that MLM convention where he got to see Gallup on stage presenting to 30,000 people. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what looped him in, the science-based research. I already knew my profile, but this, I couldn't gain buy-in until he saw Gallup. Okay. But when I realized that Woo was 34, it was like, it was almost that breath where I could
Yeah.
exhale, finding out input and learner, I could inhale. And
Yeah.
Woo, it was like, oh,
Released you from a pressure. You were like putting this
that,
like unknown pressure on yourself to be somebody else.
well, how easy it is for the two of you to win others over. And it actually fuels you. So I thought,
Mm-hmm.
for years, I thought, man, I watch my husband. It's so effortless. People love him. I mean, they love him. They are attracted to him. Here's an example. We go to lunch. He and I are actually just trying to have lunch together. The owner comes and sits down with us and starts talking to Bill. It's like, I have 1 hour with my husband. Okay. And then
Get
all the
out
servers
of
are
here.
coming over. And it's like, oh my gosh. So like I said, I like to observe, see what's going on. I love to people watch. And I realized maybe this was prior to strengths. I should be like Bill, shouldn't I? Shouldn't I be like Bill, where everyone can love me and are attracted to me, and I'll just be gregarious and out there? I tried so hard, and guess what? I failed miserably. I came across as inauthentic, disingenuous, and guess what? It was exhausting. It it
I
really.
bet it was. I bet it was.
So when I saw Woo 34, it's like, oh, never again. I can just embrace the truth
Right.
about who I am, dispel all the lies of what I could be, should be, I am not. It's like, no, just who am I? And how can I leverage that for true, genuine connection on whatever level is comfortable for me? So
Yeah.
now, Bill maybe talks about how we might network a little differently. Well, I do relationships differently. I am
Of
extremely
course.
strategic about relationships, and I'm okay with that. Some people think, oh, isn't that manipulative? I said, it could be if I used it for devious gain,
Yeah, with
but
great power comes great responsibility. So you've got a strategic superpower.
I do. So if I show up to a networking event, why? Well, number one, I'm going to dial up my responsibility. What is the purpose for me being there? What is my goal? My goal is having a meaningful connection with at least, my goal is 2 people, minimum is 1. My outrageous goal would be 3. Okay. But if I'm
Mm.
networking with my husband, who does he need to meet? How can I use my learner input to gather information of how I can serve that person? Who do they need to be connected to that I know? Or how can we help them? So, and then I'll hand them off to Bill. Bill, you need to meet this person and why. So, so we
I just
do.
have to say, I love hearing you talk. The way you're explaining this, I think so many of our listeners are just going to be like, yes, yes, I feel so seen. And I have to say, from my perspective, so Renee, I met you when I met Bill at the pre-coaches summit workshop thing.
Yeah.
And what I'm loving, and in one of our previous episodes, Bill and I talked about the difference between woo and relator, and he
Hmm.
has both of those. So he sees those different. I just have woo. And I
Okay.
love hearing from your perspective of having high relator and that low woo. And I just think it's funny because I met Bill at the event. And he, of course, was like, this is my wife, Renee. She's my business partner. But you're much more sit on the sidelines, soak it up. And so what I'm loving is now I've had as many interactions with Bill and you, but of course, because Bill and I have wooed it up, we created this bond and relationship. To know that you're strategically in the back, like helping guide him and point him, is so exciting to see, like a look behind the curtain. And
Mm-hmm.
now I feel like I can see your relator just flourishing with the other themes in it, because here we are in a small room where relators are typically more comfortable. And look at you shine. It is like your stage. You just get your expertise, your knowledge, your story, the way you're articulating it and like coming to the show. I did not see this side of you at those big events, and it makes total sense because
Mm-hmm.
that's not where you're going to shine. You said that woo, she ain't me. She's in the back of the bus and I trying to kick her out. But now the relator is the driver, and it's so wonderful. And I'm just excited the way that you were able to learn that, get rid of the insecurities about what you're not, and embrace who you are. It's so exciting and empowering.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you said this might help others be seen. Strengths help me see myself,
Yeah.
actually see myself. And you are very astute, Sarah, because you really don't know me. We
Right.
haven't had a deep connection or interaction because strategically there was no value until now.
Yeah.
I wanted to be friendly and professional and create a relationship. But for me to reveal my heart and my soul, how can it be beneficial to others?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my sweet spot is working one-on-one with people,
Of
not groups. I don't
course.
I don't need to be on the microphone. I'd prefer not to be on the microphone, but working eye to eye, knee to knee with someone, man, that's where the magic happens.
Mhm. And
Absolutely.
you notice Renee mentions I when we all met initially, we all met together. We met at a pre event that involves a bunch of coaches. There's about 70 of us in the room. You're watching Renee open up for you for the first time, Sarah, but there's only two of us technically here.
Right.
Right. So when we've all met before in that 70, she's picked her 3 targets for the day or her 2, and she's had those interactions. Right. And today we gave her information about coming in. Right. She knew kind of where our podcast was. She's been in the background hearing me podcast with you for a while. So she has some familiarity with it. So you can see this blossoming of that of hey, I am. Let me talk about this because I can focus on this, right? So
Yeah.
Renee, talk about do you think that is a factor in this opening of what Sarah is seeing?
My keen observations, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, all of it. Well, and just because Sarah knows you as a fellow coach, right? But also as Bill's wife, because Sarah and I talk a lot and we woo it up. You come in from a different point of view. You bring that strategy around. Oh, I know why you're doing a podcast. I know why Sarah and you have clicked in the right. So, but right now you're opening up and being very open about what you observe, right? And really shining in it. So, and I would suspect part of that is because there's 2 of us here. Right. You can lock in with the 2 of us and build on this relationship much easier than you could in a room of 70
Oh, I
and
think I
pick
know where
Sarah
you're
out.
going.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, I think what this is a perfect example how I utilize Bill's relationship building themes and those influencing themes to work the room, warm someone up so I can come in and just be me. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
It's so I very strategically aim his relationship building or his woo. And I'm going to go back to yes, we met you at the coaches Learn, Connect, Share, Charlotte Blair's event. She is a magnificent coach and probably my favorite coach and mentor. And not once, but twice. And the first time, Sarah, you were on my radar as my goal was who are the 10 people that we need to align with, associate with, and have orbit in our coaching sphere. You made the list the first time.
Oh
And
my gosh.
honestly, you were probably in the top 5. After the second experience, it's like, oh, it just solidified the value of our interactions. My
Yeah.
futuristic saw a lot further than Bill's does because he's like right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm days, weeks, months, or years, sometimes a decade or more ahead. So
Wow. Wow. Okay, first of all, I'm like so flattered. Thank you so much. Even if you're lying to me, it's a lie I
I don't
really love.
lie.
So thank you.
My wife,
My
that is
responsibility won't let me lie.
You won't let
my
you lie.
my
Okay, well,
wife.
good.
My wife will not. She won't miss a party and tell them I'm sorry we have to go because of this. If that does not exist, like she cannot do it. She will not. So
Admirable.
yeah,
Admirable quality.
which means she just told 65 other coaches you were not on my top 5.
I went in with a plan. We
Yes,
had the
Yes.
plan to grow and build Bill Dippel
absolutely.
Strengths Coach. And I didn't say I didn't like the other coaches.
Oh no,
Right.
not at
Who
all.
would
Right.
be, remember, who would be the most valuable strategic partners in the room?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
did they meet my criteria? You, both, gold star on both.
Yes. Okay, so here's a question I have for you. I know I'm
Okay.
taking advantage of you because you're a fabulous coach, but I have to do it. I meet people all the time who do not have woo, who wish they did. They're like in your previous life self still, but they have that relator. Do you have any advice, whether they're entrepreneurs, they're other coaches, or they're just, in leadership or management and they feel like I must network. I need to network, right? Everyone's always telling people, get out there, meet people, go to these networking events. And they hate it because they don't have that thing. What would your advice be? I mean, you're great because you and Bill can wing man, wing woman each other. They're solo people. What advice do you have for those people with maybe that high relator, low woo, who are being told, get out there and network with a bunch of people?
There's like 3 different ways I could go about this. I'm going to start with most of the people who are big, who are large in life, who bring the energy socially, if there are 2 or more present. Those are going to be your relationship building people or your influencing people. They might even be extroverts versus introverts. I'm an introvert and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing how my relator shows up with my responsibility, I have embraced the fact that for me, I am distrusting by nature. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm not cynical. I'm not pessimistic. I just need more information to know, are you someone that's worthy of getting in a position where you can hurt me? Okay. Can I
Mm-hmm.
trust you? Are you a person of integrity, of values? Is this lip service I'm hearing, or are you opening and sharing your heart with me? For people who it may not fuel them to network, it's not everyone's jam. And
Mm-hmm.
typically, the people who thrive in networking, they want to be seen. They're showing up to be seen, and it fuels them to be seen and heard. Okay, it fuels me to serve others. It fuels me to serve my husband and to serve the business. So find your why. Go all the way back to Simon Sinek. Find your why.
Yeah.
Why are you going? And what is enough? Bill might talk to 20, 30, 40 people in the room. Remember, 1 is enough. 2 is ideal. 3 might be a stretch for me. And
Right.
is that okay? Yeah, if I give myself permission for it to be okay. So just like with strengths, we all have our own strengths, and within those strengths, we have our own flavor of the strength. So I pull up my strategic thinking. I make sure I have a valid reason as to why I'm investing my time, my energy, and my emotion when and where I show up. Is it networking? Is it a family event? Is it for a friend? I know what my expectations are and how I can be the best me coming forward. And if I can't, I shouldn't go.
Mm.
Was that helpful?
Oh my gosh, I think that is going to be so helpful for some people out there who have similar strengths as you, even just that relator. It's so important to set that. I think, and I say this fully knowing that I come from the woo place. Woos, I feel like it's a very, it can divide people as a
Oh, yeah.
strength. It is either people are like, I love woo and I wish I had it, or I love that I have it, or I hate woo. I don't like the people with woos. Those woos, get them out of here, right? It feels like it's polarizing for people. And
Absolutely. And
so,
I was going to say, and with Bill having it number 4, there are times when woo doesn't stand for winning others over. It stands for wife objects often. Because I'm left
he's
standing
brought
there.
that up
It's like,
before, actually.
I have. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
there having an experience with my husband, and I turn around and he's gone. I was like, anyone? 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 And he's entertaining someone and engaging. And it's like, cool, I'll go look at that one thing I wanted to learn more about.
Yes,
So,
it
Very
is.
and
true. And I would say too, when she's audaciously meeting 3 people in the meeting, I've met 3 people in the parking lot. You know,
Right.
we're on our way, and I'm like, you know, hey, what are you guys doing? Good to see you. So we do see that together, and I would chip in on this too. That one of the things that we do really well is I lean into Renee's strategy. Right. So she's talking about the woo and where that sits and how she thinks. But Sarah, I'm curious, you can probably see, since you've dealt with me a lot, you see 2 very distinctive styles of communication when you talk to the 2 of us. And knowing what Renee does so well, we have a whiteboard of clients and other things. Renee does it all. I don't. My writing is pathetic, right? We wouldn't be able to read it in the next week. But outside of that, to put it in order and to put it, you know, everything I do is very free form. It's very, oh, that's my mind. And, oh, here's where this is. And here's a picture of a building that might look like one of our clients. I don't know. But if I needed to make sense of it in 3 weeks, it's Renee's writing. It's what Renee puts on the board. Right. And
Well, and I just feel like the 2 of you exemplify the power of partnership. You know, we always say differences are advantages. Now, we have to be careful because differences also are what can cause people to butt heads, especially if we don't understand the talents that are causing an action or something to come out. But those differences are what help us. And I think that's what I hear so much in the 2 of you is I can see how Bill is that front facing, forward out there, bring everyone in. Everyone is welcome, you know, just sort of the big funnel on top, if you will. And Renee, she's like the bottom of the funnel. She's like, no. We just want these 3 people.
I sort.
And yes, you're sorting. You are, but you're strategically thinking. I just think how valuable for y'all's business to have that because it is really necessary, especially if you want to grow, if you want to be the best that you can for those clients. How do you do that in a really smart way? Right? Because it's one thing to win people over and get people to like you, but how do you provide transformational development to be able to have Renee going, you know, I think maybe we should do X with this client because they're really looking for this. And you haven't even said that you do that. So I'm like just inferring things now. So correct me if I'm wrong.
You're very perceptive.
High individualization. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. And
I have high discipline. So he can individualize, but I have that overall structure, that agenda. Okay. So nothing falls
Yes.
through the cracks unless I want to delete it, avoid it.
Right.
yeah, Sarah, we mentioned previously on a earlier episode that we do strengths-based parties at our house that are in our backyard, and we have
strong.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Renee. Sarah was like, "Oh, I need the full blueprint of what you guys are doing, and I need to,
fun.
I want." So we bring clients over. If you didn't hear the previous one, we'll bring clients and have a strengths-based or not strengths-based party of the people that we coach and the money decision makers or the directors, or, we bring 8 to 10, and we do
Also,
this.
all of my clients listening are like, yeah, can you get one of those parties loaded up, Sarah? Jeez, got to move to Reno, Nevada to get a party here, lady?
Actually, we just sent 3 tickets to some of your clients. Don't worry, it's no big deal. We'll just tell them it's from you. Anyway, and so, but what's great is, and another highlight about what Renee is saying is when we host those parties and we have a bunch of people here, for me, if we talk about strengths, great. If if we highlight and talk about it, awesome. If we don't, okay, right? At least you're seeing around the room who else is using it, who you can talk to about it, how we can interface. Oh, you use it. Maybe you're having side conversations about what it means for you. But for us, right, I am orchestrating the big part of it, and Renee is sniping, right? These people are perfect, right? This conversation needs to go here.
Targeting.
Yes,
no
that's good. So, the menu is perfect, right? She's keeping me on track. She's saying
like, no. This person is gluten-free and this person has a shellfish allergy. So we need to make sure we don't use this catering company, but we have this.
Yeah. And people are asking her, how do you use I have high strategic. Can you help me understand my high strategy? So she's got a group of 4 people over on one part of our yard talking about strategy, right? And meanwhile, I've got, 8 others over here, and we're all, woo!
Just playing beer pong.
Oh yeah, we got the cornhole. The cornhole's going. We've got we're all drinking bourbon. So we try to make it not super scripted, but what is great is the people that want a little more formality and a little script to it. Renee is perfect at it, right? Yeah. She steps in. She keeps them gives them exactly what they need, and she even foresees what they need and is able to step in to supply that.
Yeah. Renee, okay, we've sort of hijacked your conversation or your story conversation. We got up to how you got introduced to strengths. Tell us, how did you get involved in doing the coaching yourself?
Well, I love doing it. I rolled it out to my team with marginal success. You can only, when you're coaching, you need to have someone who wants to be coached.
Right.
So
you can lead a horse to water, right?
And, my learner input, it was really, oh my gosh, when they released the reports for leaders, managers, and sales, I just naturally assumed, doesn't everyone want to learn about themselves? Don't they want to develop, self-development, increase their skill set? Oh, I'm making assumptions. So I thought everyone wanted to know that.
Right.
And I had to really dial back and have this platter of offerings and allow them to choose. And it ended up being that there was disharmony with my upline. Actually, it's more than disharmony, and harmony is in my bottom. So I'm okay with friction. Bring it, let's fix it. There was a lack of integrity, and I just tapped out, which is fine. I still love the product. I still use the product every day, but I no longer wanted to benefit the upline who was making serious money off of me.
Okay.
So I allowed that to dissipate and no longer be a stream of revenue. And that shift occurred in about a week. It dropped by half. And I didn't do anything other than withdraw my energy from it. I was no longer building that. So my story was that I started using it for myself. I applied it to my other businesses. And I don't know, Sarah, if Bill has ever mentioned what my other business has been for 31 years.
I think maybe, but why don't you remind us?
Well, let me go all the way back to when I was 18.
Yes,
okay,
do.
So 39 years ago, I became an entrepreneur, self-employed.
Wow.
Okay, so I've always had my own gig. And for 31 years, I've worked with individuals around pain, injury, and injury recovery, and the trauma associated with either recovering or not recovering, or the inefficiencies of medicine to treat it. It's really interesting in working with all these clients, and I have 3 different coaching certifications. I've been certified in clinical hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming, NLP,
Mm-hmm.
innate coaching, a lot of different things to help people reframe traumas in their lives and move forward. And when Gallup came out with the 5 elements of well-being, it's like, oh, that's what I've been doing. When
Yeah.
the physical body breaks down, it's really hard to have the other 4 areas in harmony. And looking at, well, when the pain or the injury starts to resolve and functionality returns, then they're looking at other areas in their life where things aren't working. Or was that a bad career fit that led to the breakdown physically? So I've been coaching individuals around reclaiming the power in their life. Someone asked me once, it's like, are you trying to teach people to have power over pain or manage pain? It's like, no, I no longer want pain or injury to have power over them. So it's
Mm.
just a little tweak, but how, in spite of, what can you do? How can you affect change for the positive? So I've worked in that. And when I realized I could bring strengths into that and start utilizing that as part of my process, light bulbs come on for people. And it is literally life changing with my
Mm.
clients, where guess what? It gives them permission to get off their own backs,
Yeah.
to stop looking at all the things they aren't doing or the things they think they're doing wrong. And can you actually identify and catalog the things you're doing right and focus on that? I mean, we know this, but to
Mm-hmm.
have those aha moments where they are literally life changing, it's been dynamic. So Bill retired from the state, 30 years in higher ed and environmental studies. And when he did, he thought, I'm only 52. What in the heck am I going to do? It's kind of young to retire because all his friends were
Right.
still working. So it was like, well, what can he do? What would be his encore job,
Mm-hmm.
career, passion project? And he goes, Renee, you've had such a dynamic impact in people's lives for so long. I love coaching. I love serving. I want to make a difference. And I was like, well, during COVID, what do? You launch a new business, right? And
Why
what
not?
with Bill having been an embedded coach, having used it at the university, and then as an embedded coach, he knew he loved coaching. He is so good at it too. I really admire his ability to coach and just have his fingers on the pulse of people. Okay, I
Yeah.
have my brain on the thoughts of people, but Bill is he's like right in it with you. And he establishes that rapport and can pace and lead people where they need to go and get everyone rowing in the same direction. And he really cares. I care when I have strategy around why I should care. Bill
Mm-hmm.
cares all the time. Okay.
Right.
So we had a friend, a really good friend of ours, and he was in California, one of the most shut down states from COVID. And we thought, I wonder if we can help him. See if he can, after he and I both launched our current businesses in 1993, can we keep his business open? Can we
Mm-hmm.
impact and make a difference? So Bill and I went down and thought, let's see if we can help. Oh my gosh, it was a huge success. Did you ever tell her about that, Bill?
No, and Pete will be coming on at some point.
So
But no,
Peter
I have,
Nicholson
yeah,
from Cornerstone Photography, he
yeah.
was and I'm sure he doesn't mind because he is our
Oh,
biggest, he trumpets our success. He leads with influencing themes. So of course, he'd
Of
love it.
course.
and
Yeah.
Pete as
Pete,
usual,
shout out.
Pete, I don't care if you mind. We're going to talk about you. And,
I will
I mean,
leverage you, Pete, to my advantage. Okay.
yes.
So we went down and we did a 2-day event, and it was dynamic, and it gave them hope and gave Pete direction. And on the way back, I have a business strategist that I know who has helped me with 2 other businesses prior to Bill Dippel Strengths Coaching.
Who,
And on the way back,
was our interviewee a couple of weeks ago, Renee. We
yes.
had Allie on
Allie.
with us.
Did
Yes.
you?
Yeah.
I need to plug my computer in. It wants to die, and it was fully charged. This much must use a lot of juice. So give me one moment.
Absolutely. So
Plug
yeah,
it
we
in.
had if for those of you interested in listening to the business strategist around what Renee and I have done, back up, there's one called Allie Alden, and she is at ALIALDN.com. I'll always give Allie another shout out. And as a business strategist, she was fantastic at being able to help us understand on our drive home from Los Angeles how we might put this together, what it looks like.
So I had, and I'll tell you what, even if you're not into networking, I met Allie Alden in 2012. Okay, she helped me with my businesses. That's why I've been wildly successful on rebranding, marketing strategy, everything. So I call Allie on the way. We're driving back from Southern California, y'all. It's a 8-9 hour drive. And we talked with Allie about what we were envisioning to launch a business for Bill so he could
Mm-hmm.
coach. And man, that was just the very end of December of 2020. And we started working with her right after the holidays. So January, February, and March, we were just doing all the market research, all the menu of services, our processes. And we opened April 1st of 2021. And it
Wow.
just took off. We had to pivot off of some of our stuff to do billing and proposals because before we even opened our doors, we had clients. And Sarah, you know how we did that? We leaned into relational equity. I
Mm-hmm.
used my relations that I've known with the business community for a decade or two, and I only reached out to 10 people, and
Wow.
it popped and it popped and it popped. And I mean, popped as in, oh, yeah, a spark took. And then they started referring people. And Bill had leaned into his relational equity. And it's like, we're writing business before we're even done with our strategy. so
Ah,
so everything you see on BillDippel.com, Allie Alden created, and she is just magnificent. She is well worth just a call and talk
yeah.
to her. And my goal with Bill Dippel Strengths Coaching is to always have her as our coach for hire, our strategist.
Yeah.
So that's how we rolled it out, and then it grew beyond what we were expecting. And it really brought me into the business full time because we were thinking just this little side hustle thing for Bill when he's not golfing. But
Yeah.
you can only golf and fish so much. So then the business took off, and we brought in another coach and then me, and it is what it is. So, and now we have wonderful strategic partners like with you and just other coaches I'm not going to name.
I love that Bill was having this look like, I don't know, I feel like I could golf
I
and
could,
fish a lot
I could,
more.
I could golf. I could golf and fish. I don't know.
I think I
Yeah.
could do that a lot.
But no, and she's absolutely right. And she brings up that funny point of when the business came online, we had Allie working on specific things on like our website, and we had to call her and break that and say, stop. We actually need a proposal system that makes sense instead of me putting it on a Word document
Right.
and just sending it out. Right. We need something professional. Stop everything we're doing. We actually need, and on the back of that, the second we did that, I need a very good invoicing system,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
fortunately we tied together. So, but yeah.
Well, and it's that relationship equity, right? It's what you
Yeah.
really keyed in on, the way that Bill builds relationship, the way that you, Renee, build relationship, and being able to just reach out to that network that you had both
Yeah.
cultivated in totally different ways, but get
Mm-hmm.
a similar outcome when it comes to saying, hey, we can do this for your business if you're interested. And people said yes. You saw
Yeah.
a need in the market and you were able to fulfill it. And it's really awesome and inspiring.
And
Yeah.
it's been fun. It's been a lot of hard work, but it's also been really rewarding. I think we've made a lot of differences. We do work with some well funded nonprofits,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we've really helped move the needle to help them retain their talent because we know that um, nonprofits don't typically pay at the
Right.
highest scale. So there can be a lot of turnover, and we want to help people maintain their talent. And I think we've been
Yeah.
able to do that.
Yeah.
So that they can move their mission forward, feeding people, keeping children safe and families together. I mean, oh, what's better than that?
Yeah. Well,
Now,
go ahead. Go ahead,
oh,
Sarah.
sorry.
I know where you're going. I was going there.
You
You're all right.
probably, I actually am probably not going where you think I'm going, but I just have to ask this because I'm always
I love
strengths
it.
curious.
Yes.
Renee, it sounds like you've reinvented yourself time and time again in your career. You have learner at number one. Sometimes I see my friends with learner get bored because they love learning. So doing something new is so exciting because they get to just like learn everything. And then I've seen it doesn't always happen, but I've seen it where they're like, well, I kind of know a lot about this. I want to add something new or do something else. Does that happen to you having that high learner, or do you feel like it comes out in a different way?
Oh, goodness. My learner used to torment me
Mm,
because before I understood what my learner and input, their archiver of
right.
information, which I look at as, for me, it's resources to serve and
Mm-hmm.
help other people. But my learner, I'm so fueled by learning new things that in my brain I twisted it. The voice in my head was telling me I didn't know enough. That
Oh,
is a lie. It is an absolute lie that I've learned I can now dispel. I was applying for a trauma instructor trainer position, and she wanted a resume. I hadn't done one for probably a decade or more. I pulled it out, and there were 36 different certifications that I had done, and I was so embarrassed. It's like I only filled one sheet, and this was in 2019, and I had been strengths aware for 2 years. It's like, oh, I actually know enough. And the lie about learner is that I don't know enough. So now
mm,
I'm more strategic about what I learn and make sure it fuels me and learn it for a purpose. Does that make sense?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And not let it take me off track. No, I've had a couple fun um, adventures being a sous chef, going into cooking, working for a cafe and catering, going into real estate, um, doing a lot of different things. And it's like, no, I always come back to honestly, like coaching individuals, holding that space for them to dispel
Yeah.
those lies, whatever they
Mm-hmm.
are, and embrace the truth. And I think strengths are one of the easiest ways to identify, to name, claim, and aim your truth and get rid of whatever lies that you've made up, that someone else has put in your head, and just focus, on what's right about you.
Yeah. And I imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, when you're coaching someone, there's always something new to learn. Every person is different, and
I
there's
love
always
it.
more layers of the onion with the people. So that's probably why you keep coming back to it because you constantly get to feed that learner. And there's that developer in there, right? They get to eat, they get to come out
Yeah,
and have a
yeah.
feast when you're coaching.
And I'm really good with that strategic mindset I have of connecting dots. All the dots are there, they just don't know where to connect it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very liberating, very empowering to work with me because that is my intention. That's my
Yeah.
responsibility to show you how amazing you are and how you can, by maximizer, how you can be even better.
Ah! Oh my
So
gosh, I
there's
want you to
a
be my coach. I'm like, can I
anytime,
get
baby,
her
it would be my
hired?
pleasure. There used to be a magazine that was Life, and it said every life has a story. So why
Mm,
I engage and talk to people isn't to win them over. It's like I get a good feel for you, and I'd like to know about you, your heart, what makes you tick, what you value, how you've become this incredible human you are. Because I'm really clear also who is not my person, who I don't want to connect with. And I'm okay
mm-hmm.
with that. I'm an on or off switch. But
Yeah.
once I'm on, you're in, baby. You're in.
Great.
So,
Ooh, okay.
can I say one other thing? Because
No.
Sarah, Bill,
No, you
yeah, I don't
can't.
know why you have me. My favorite page of the report, as you can imagine, strategic thinking is page 21. Okay, the
Tell us
periodic
what's on
table of
page 21.
strengths.
Say it
It
again.
is a periodic table of your strengths, the 4 domains
Mm.
lit up with your top 10. Okay, the intensity bar across the top, right? We can see the intensity of the 4 domains. When I'm working, well, I'll use Bill and I as an example. He's got blue is about 60% of his intensity bar. And not that I've actually done the math and measured it. Strategic thinking is 48% of mine. Okay. I literally got out a
Don't
ruler and did the math.
she
I have it for each of the
Wow.
domains.
and she does it
Wow.
she does it while we're at events too. She'll bring it up and she'll be measuring and she'll be like, "Do you know your percentage of
I love this. I
I
love
That's
do
that.
great.
because Gallup has moved away from wanting to know percentages, but I do. I'm a math girl.
Yeah.
I was a math girl before girls were, math is hard. No, actually, math makes sense. People don't. So, no, unless they're living in their strengths. So I use the intensity bar, like with Bill and I. His strongest is relationship building. It is my weakest. Okay. My strategic thinking is my strongest, is his least. Do you think it's too much of a pull for me to go all relational or too much of a pull for him to go strategic? Where we align typically is my 3rd domain, influencing, his 2nd domain. And then we establish a rapport, decide what we're doing, and we activate. We both have activator. So we start moving into action on what we can do, executing things, his responsibility, my responsibility, his restorative, how we can move towards people with a bigger picture. So I love that.
Wow. That just a strengths expertise on fire. I love
Yeah.
that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So
So
now
now do we
now you can do it.
well, Renee, you've talked about how you strategize around meeting groups of people and how you narrow down. You've talked about the incredible strength of having strategy around who you're going to meet and why. We've heard a lot of the positive things around how you've used them. Now, you were at the event where we officially named this Strengths Dumpster Fire because we thought this podcast would have to be a dumpster fire at best. So we did change it to Strengths on Fire with a dumpster fire component. So we're asking you the dumpster fire question, which is, when do your strengths get in your way? When does your strength show up as a dumpster fire instead of on fire?
Oh my gosh, it's easy. It's my number 4. It's responsibility. I take so much ownership of the responsibility for those I care about, whether it's family, it's friends. I'm actually, professionally, I have really good borders and boundaries, because I behave professionally. But when it comes to people who are really deeply in my heart, I assume way too much responsibility, more than my 100%. It's like, where is their 100% for them to show up? So I talk about how responsibility absolutely is my favorite theme. It is my guiding principles, my morals, my values, my direction. It's everything about who I am. It is my integrity, but it's also the one that gets in my way. So I don't always want my responsibility driving the car. Sometimes it can run Navigator or be in the back seat, lipping off to me. Sometimes I put it in the trunk, and there are times I have to leave it by the side of the road and lead with a different theme. So my responsibility gets me in trouble because I always think that I can intellectually solve so many problems that require the other person to do some work, where I'm taking inappropriate ownership or codependency, whatever you want to call it, where I step into unhealthy behavior myself because I'm being overly responsible, taking on too much. Here's my fire.
I love how you point out that your strengths show up in every arena of your life, but they will show up differently in the different arenas of your life. And I think that's really important for people to notice, because I do think sometimes people who are new to the strengths language, being new to the assessment, a lot of times I think this is a work thing, because that's usually where people first enter
Hmm.
into it. And when we open up the lens of, nah, you're using this all the time in every relationship, in every scenario, it's just you're probably engaging in these strengths in a different way. Or maybe you're leaning on certain ones more at home or more with your, core family. And I just
Yeah.
love how you brought that up of like, hey, actually at work, I have pretty good boundaries around my responsibility. It's in the personal relationships that it gets me into a big old dumpster fire.
And I think a lot of those relationships, family, even my husband, when we established the relationship, I wasn't strengths aware. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness, Sarah, I was 52 before I realized what was unique about me, how I could succeed using my God given inherent innate talents.
Mm-hmm.
So the relationships I struggle with most are the ones that weren't established with healthy borders and boundaries, with enmeshment and codependency. In business, it's really clear what those lanes. I have said for decades, I think even before I met Bill, it's like I wish families were run more like businesses,
Mm-hmm.
with standard operating procedures, with expectations and accountability and, borders and boundaries. And that sounds, wow, that's not very relational. No, it's very strategic.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're not
So,
wrong. I do think there could be so much value in that. I tell people all the time, marriage, and I have not been as married as long as the two of you. We're 7 years, almost 8. But I say it is a business partnership. Love is only one component. I really think you cannot just love someone and get married to them. There has to be a lot of other stuff at play, because it is a business agreement. You've got your finances, your living arrangement, the way you decide to parent if you have children, the way you interact out in the community. I mean, there's so much more than just like the love you have for each
yes.
other. And so there's a lot of ways where it does feel like, yeah, we should sit down and maybe write out a operating agreement.
Well, it is a contract.
Yeah.
It is a legally binding contract that we have to go to court to dissolve. So let's
Yeah.
not pretend marriage isn't a contractual agreement. So can we apply some ground rules? One of the things that Bill and I both were married before. So I don't say he's not my first husband. He is my best husband.
Oh, that's
Okay.
so sweet.
And one of the priorities is that if we are going to fight, which we will,
Of
we need to
course.
know what it is to fight fair. What would that
Hmm.
look like? So we don't diminish or disrespect each other, that we remain who we are in relation to each other.
Yeah, I love that. And I will
Yeah.
even say, I have started with my children, they're 5 and 6. We created family values, just like I have
Yes.
family values. I said, and they know them. Our neighbor kids know them because I am talking about them on repeat. They're not just hanging up on the fridge, just like in the business. We don't want them just on the wall. We're living these are a part of us, and that's another way we can make our family systems a little bit more like businesses, to just help us stay in line to what's really important here.
Especially when they align, we can align them with our strengths, with the best demonstration of our most mature strengths. How are those values in alignment, so we can all show up for each other, with each other,
Yeah,
moving in the right direction?
this could be a whole nother podcast about
We
Sure.
could
strengths
we'll
in
just
families and business. And
Yeah, we'll just build on it. We'll just extend this one another hour and a half. Everybody ready? I'll just no,
Are we an hour
totally.
and a half in? Oh my gosh, time flies.
Oh,
There was one. I have my notes.
okay, she's so
One of the
prepared.
Mythbusters. I am so prepared. I would be irresponsible of me to not be.
exactly.
And I would feel as if I'm disrespecting or devaluing your time or effort. So, the Mythbuster. I think the biggest myth for me, it shows up in my top, actually, number 3. Let's just go there, maximizer. So often, especially around Gallup, I hear over and over that maximizer shows up as it's not good enough, that there's a hypercritical component. Maybe it is for some. Sarah, it is a myth. My maximizer does not have a negative lean to it. It is only about going from good to great. So that is mine. I will, I don't have belief high, but my responsibility is saying that is a myth that I wish the coaching community would stop apologizing for the maximizer, and that it's just not, you'll make people feel it's never good enough. No, people will feel however they choose to feel. And if we can present it in a growth opportunity that they can accept or reject, I will never tell anyone they're not good enough, ever.
You're
So
just
that's
helping
my
them
myth
see the
buster.
potential of how it could be better. I love that.
Nice. Nice. All right.
Because, a lot of the truth, the lies I was trying to dispel was I wasn't enough. I wasn't good enough. I didn't think I was smart enough. But all the things, the not enoughness, the low self-esteem, the lack of self-worth that I battled for 4 decades of my life, I will never come at anyone that they're not enough.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So we're going to, Sarah, you're going to hate me for this. You asked me, did I send her a question, a random fun question? The answer is yes.
Of course.
I absolutely did. And you and I chose the same question for our last 2 guests. We randomized it, but we chose the same question. So Renee, I'm going to ask you, I've sent you a question that's kind of a fun question. And the reason I did it, the reason I chose this one, you brought up the who's in my passenger seat, we have that analogy that we coach with in our coaching practice. Do you want me to stick with that question, Renee, or do you want me to give you a curveball?
Oh.
She said,
Stick with it.
no, I'm prepared. Do not give me a curveball.
Right.
And of course, I've maximized your question. So
Of course you have. So, all right. So we have rolled this question out previously. My apologies. It's another one. If you've heard it on the previous episode, this will be a different answer for you. So, Renee, you are on a road trip with your strengths as your passengers. Who is in charge of navigation? Who is in charge of snacks? And who is in charge of entertainment?
All right. Well, first, before we get in the car, my maximizer. Okay, to make sure this is going to be the best experience ever. My Futuristic is in the driver's seat with the directions I need. Okay. I am fully planned and prepared. The car, of course, is packed perfectly. Next to me is input, because input will give me all these yummy podcasts or audible books or whatever I need to do to fuel and feed my brain. And in the back, gosh, I've got responsibility. I'm going to be a kind, considerate driver. I'm going to arrive safely and timely. I'm going to respect myself and stop when I need to. And yeah, it's just that discipline and structure of setting my cruise control so I'm 8 miles an hour over the speed limit, so I'm below 10.
Wow, I only go 5. I like this 8.
Yeah, pick it up.
Living on the
Pick it up.
edge.
Yeah.
Living on the edge.
So that's what I want to do. So snacks, I mean, that was my maximizer. That's because, and my learner comes in there too, because I've learned what I like, what's easy, what won't make a mess on me or in the car. And what, I have all my tea lined up, my hot tea, my cold tea. It's a process.
It's funny because I think our
perfect.
last guest said Maximizer was also in charge of her snacks.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Maximize the heck out of those snacks. And I will absolutely tell you, if Renee and I are driving across parts of the country or driving across this town, which takes 15 minutes, not that big, I will guarantee you there are iced tea and hot tea cups in every tea holder. And there is probably a light cashew bag or snack of something that we can nibble on while we're driving. So everything you hear from Renee, I can echo as absolute truth, right? So I have 2 cups of tea in front of me right now. Both of those came from Renee. So So, right.
Look at beverages
Right.
are on point.
Right. And I mean, some of you saw different colors, right? There you go. I've got, right. So, if you watch us on video, we're showing some cups to the screen. She makes sure everything is maximized. Everything is strategically ready to be the best that it can be. And I can attest to that so much. So,
Renee, you have been an absolute delight on the podcast. You have given
Of
us
course.
so much
Thank
things,
you.
so
Of
many
course.
things to think about. The total juxtaposition between Bill and I and what we offer. It's just incredible.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
and I only get to say this once on one of these podcasts. I love you, sweetie. So.
Oh, I love you too, and I love our strengths.
See, there it is. I only get to do that once, and there it went. So, thank you so much for being on with us. Thank you for the time, and we will check in soon. Actually, the good news, I get to go walk in the other room and see Renee. She's right over there.
Oh,
So,
you
all
love
right.
birds. Get out of here before you make the rest of us sick.
Crazy. All right, Renee. Thank you much. We will see you on the next podcast. Thank you for joining us on Strengths on Fire. If today's conversation sparks something in you, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. We're here every other week, bringing you fresh insights to fuel your growth and ignite your potential. Remember, your strengths are powerful, so let's keep the fire burning.
And if you're looking to transform your organization through strengths-based strategies and coaching, reach out to Sarah Collins, founder of Collins Collective, or Bill Dippel, founder of Bill Dippel Strengths Coaching. Connect with Sarah at wearecollinsco.com. Follow her on Instagram at SarahCoachCollins or email her at sarah@wearecollinsco.com, SARAH. You can reach Bill at BillDippel.com, Bill, DIPPEL.com, or on Instagram at Bill Dippel Coach, or email him at bill@BillDippel.com.
Please note the opinions, views, and interpretations of Clifton Strengths expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and the guests. They have not been approved, sanctioned, or endorsed by Gallup in any way.
Until next time, keep your strengths on fire and let's light up what's possible together. Bye, Bill.
Bye, Sarah.